This is Richard Wolff from Democracy at Work, responding to another Ask Prof. Wolff question from our Patreon community. This one comes from Pete and is one of those wonderful questions that gets to the core of something important in our lives. Pete asks, what is exactly inflation? How does it work? Why, for example, does a 2 by 4 piece of wood, of lumber, cost much more today than it did 5 or 10 years ago? What's going on with inflation? Well, it's a very basic question. I'm going to try to give a basic answer, but one a little different from what you're likely to hear from the mainstream media. So here, let's begin. Prices going up. That's all inflation means. Doesn't mean every price goes up the same. Doesn't even mean that some prices don't go up and while others go down. All of that's possible. It just means that in general, prices are going up. Most things are getting more expensive over time. So that if you compare prices last year to prices this year's in general are higher. If that's the case, you've got an inflation. Nothing more than that is involved in the literal definition of the term. So the logical questions to be answered about inflation begin with this: who makes the decision? In other words, who decides that a price goes up? Because you got to have a decision maker if there's a decision. And if a 2 by 4 costs $5 at one point and $3 at another, somebody made that decision to raise or lower the price. Because when you go to a lumber yard, you can get a piece of paper handed to you which says, this is what we got, this is what it costs. Okay? I don't deny that sometimes you can bargain, but that just changes what the price finally is. And the key determinant of the price, the one we have to focus on, because that's how most transactions in our society work, is the employer, the person who produces and sells the item, sets the price. If you've never been an employer, you will not know about this activity because you will have never engaged in it. The vast majority of us are employees. We get wages and salaries, and we do tasks, the work that we're paid for. That does not include setting prices. Who does that? The employers. They set the prices. They may not get the price that they set, they may have to bargain, but the process starts with what the employer decides to charge. Employers are less than 1% of the people in our society. So when an inflation happens, it's because employers have decided to raise prices. That's crucial to understand this phenomena. And it leads to the logical next question: why would employers make that decision in general? Not every employer, not everyone the same amount, but if in general most employers are raising their prices, then we have an inflation. Employers' action is the cause, inflation is the result. Well, the answer to that question is very simple. Employers make the decisions about prices they attach to whatever they sell based on their goal. And the goal of an employer, as every employer will tell you, is to be profitable, to maximize the profits. That's the measure of the success of a company. That will determine the funds they have to grow the enterprise and to pay the workers next month for what they hopefully will do then. In other words, it's the measure of success. So now we have it. Inflation happens when employers raise prices in order to make more profits. But of course, raising a price is not the only way an employer can make more profits. Here's another one: they can order more goods and sell them. They can make more goods and sell them. If you order more and sell them like a store, or you make more like a manufacturer and sell more of them, you get more revenue, and part of the revenue is profits. So there are a variety of ways that employers can boost their profits. Here's another one, not so happy for us workers to think about. They can lower the wages, get us to do the same amount of work, but pay us less. Here's another one. Don't pay us less, but make us work harder, or make us work faster, or buy a piece of machinery that makes us more productive in what we do. Employers have lots of ways to make more money. That's why they don't always raise prices, because they have other ways. But when the other ways are not available or are not as attractive, when they think maybe here's a chance to make a lot more money by jacking up the prices, then they do that. So now we know why an employer, maybe an employer at a sawmill making lumber, will charge more for the 2x4 this month than he did a year ago, because he's part of his profit making strategy. And now you can begin to see how it works. If the 2x4s go up in price, then all of the other businesses who use 2x4s as inputs, they will have to pay more for the 2x4, and they will be tempted, they may not be able to do it, but they'll try to raise the prices of whatever they sell to pass on the cost of higher 2x4s to their customers. And that's how inflation spreads from one industry to another, from one part of the country to another. But the basic reality, never to forget, especially in our economy here in the United States today and around the world, is that a very small part of the population, employers, are the chief determiners of prices. And that means a terribly small minority sets the prices that we, the majority, have to pay for the food, clothing, shelter, entertainment, and everything else we buy. That is not a democratic economic system. Inflation is a tempting way to jack up profits that capitalists and employers are always thinking about as they strategize from one day to the next. And if a few start it, it usually ramifies through the system to become the general problem that, for example, inflation is in the world we live in today. If interventions and comments like this strike you as valuable for the conversations we have about the issues we face, then please partner with us, share them around, extend the reach of what we do here. Another way to do that we ask you to consider, is to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Doesn't cost anything. You go to YouTube, you hit the button, and you become part of the Democracy at Work family. And of course, if you can help us defray some of the financial costs, go to our website, democracyatwork.info, and that will be an easy way to do that. Thank you.